Hello and good morning to our listeners from around the world. I want to welcome you to another edition of This Morning with Soulivity, broadcasting live from our studio right here in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on KMET 1490 AM radio in Southern California. My name is Brian Wesley Johnson. I'm joined today by some very special friends, D'Angelo Thompson and Sheila Applegate. Good morning to both of you.
Good
Good
morning, Brian.
morning.
Good morning.
Oh man, I'm so glad that you're here with us, everybody. We've got a very great hot topic show for you. We're going to be talking about the Silicon Valley collapse, Silicon Valley bank collapse, and what that means to you. But before we get to that, I want to. How have you guys been? I mean, this is kind of a story that's been kind of going around the world and maybe frightening some people to a certain degree.
Hmm. I would say it's not as frightening as it is the uncertainty,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
how are citizens around the world, not only in the US, protected? Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. So there were two banks
Yes.
that affected a lot of small businesses and mid to middle income people.
Right. Absolutely. Sheila, how have how have you been? And I know this is, we're way on the other side of the country on the East Coast, but I
For
think
the one. Yeah,
yeah, for the one.
um, for silicon, but yeah. Um, it's interesting because you both know who I am and how I work, which is on all the different levels of consciousness. And my job is like navigating through the different levels. So sometimes when a thing like this comes out in the news, I'm like boots on the ground. I gotta like take action, put my voice
Dun,
out
dun,
there.
dun, dun.
Or I'm in the emotional state and really tuned into the emotions of the people and sending healing energy. And then there are times, and that's what this time is for me, where I am called to just stay in this overview, sort of seeing the big picture of our human evolution and just hold that space for peace during the disruption that moves us into where we want to go. And that's where I am on this one. So I'm just putting that up front. I'm not as in tune to it in the lower energies, but
Right.
that's just part of who I am sometimes and where my energy is meant to be.
Well, I think that's important. I think that's really important that we're looking at this. And again, this is why we have these conversations that empower, because we want people to make sure that they're looking at this from all points of view, mainly kind of take it up to another level, right? Like,
Mhm.
take it up to a spiritual level where you can really connect with that energy to kind of take you through this in a more peaceful way, but also in context, right? With the information and facts that you need to know.
Right, absolutely. And I've learned about it all. I'm not
Yeah,
ignoring it, but
absolutely.
it's with no emotional reaction. So that always tells me, okay, we want you up on those higher frequencies, Sheila. Hang here.
Nice. Okay, listen, we want your questions, your comments, and your thoughts about this as we go through our show today. Just post directly to our Facebook and YouTube chat, folks. And we'll do some shout outs. We'll get your questions or comments on air so that we can discuss those as well. Listen, I want to begin this segment with this quote from theconversation.org. I love this. I love this organization where they have uh, beautiful scholars from all around the country talking about different subjects. So if you haven't heard about theconversation.org, please go check it out. I'm sorry, theconversation.com. It is a fantastic piece. But this is about Silicon Valley Bank, and it gives a little context around what's been going on. So it reads, only 48 hours elapsed between a statement from the US based Silicon Valley Bank, or SVB, on March 8th that it was seeking to raise 2.5 billion US dollars to repair a hole in its balance sheet, and the announcement by the US regulator that the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or FDIC, that the bank had collapsed. At its peak in 2021, SVB was worth $44 billion and managed over $200 billion in assets. America's 16th largest deposit-taking institution just a week ago, it has now become the second biggest banking failure in U.S. history. Only the collapse of Washington Mutual during the 2008 global financial crisis was larger. I mean, wow. Wow. I mean, Sheila, I love the fact that you kind of talked about this, and you're embodying, I think, where most of us would like to be. But I would also, but what do we say to those folks that may be feeling emotional right now, right? I want to kind of go there, like D'Angelo, did you have an emotional reaction when you first heard about this?
Actually, not really until I went onto a crypto site and I was trying to do some, transactions, and
Mhm.
they weren't happening. And I was like, And then it hit me all of a sudden, like, oh, is this crypto company affiliated with that bank?
Right.
And then I started connecting the dots, and I realized a dear friend of mine was very connected in this world. And I was like, oh, their life could be devastated, you know?
Right. Right.
So I do want to say, yes, you want to be on a higher vibration, but let's also acknowledge that people literally were looking at, do I have to sell my house? Do I have to pull my kids out of school?
Right.
Am I on record as being a millionaire, but technically I'm not anymore because the stocks are not there anymore. So,
Right.
those are harsh realities. So for me, not as much personally, but definitely, me, I'm an empath. So
Right.
for people on the West Coast as well as on the East Coast, it rippled across the country for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm just now connecting with um maybe about, well, it actually was a week ago. I think I told you both that, I was having this headaches and all this kind of stuff. And I'm now connecting that was when the bank was going through its collapse. So
Mhm.
maybe empathically, I was picking up on all of that energy, and I just didn't know what it was. Remember that, Sheila? I mean, we talked about it
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about this, Sheila? I mean, like, for those people who are, like, in the midst of this emotional struggle, I mean, things looks like they're getting better now. We'll talk a little bit about that,
Yes.
but
Right.
but what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that I absolutely have compassion. I know that when you're
Yeah.
in it, it's devastating, and you're navigating, and your survival instincts are going to be heightened, because in our world today, finances are survival. Our ego doesn't
Right.
know the difference.
Right. Right.
So be gentle with yourself, and be aware, and try. The thing is to try to remain as calm as possible, because it will um, it will work itself out. I mean, I had a friend at the 2008 collapse who was in fetal position for weeks because he had
Wow.
lost so much money. And now, there's buildings named after his family since then that he was invested in. He
Wow.
came back,
Wow.
and um so it is, even in its devastation part, it's a process.
Yes.
And I understand that. And it's no lack of compassion on my part. It's just where right now my energy is,
You're,
you know.
you're right, Sheila. We get
And I
where
don't
we
think
Mm.
we should all be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I want to make sure that we're going to talk in the next segment about, like, why this happened, and will this be the norm in the future, and that kind of thing. But just to kind of preface that, want to make sure that people understand this collapse, or these collapses, are not the same as the ones that happened in 2008, like some of the causes behind that. Um,
Hmm.
there's some more technical kinds of things behind that. Again, we're going to show you some information about that, talk to you about some information about that, but
Hmm.
it's different.
Yes.
At I can't help but think about this from a spiritual kind of sense, like there's something in the air about this that we should all be paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
D'Angelo, do you have some thoughts about that?
Oh, for sure. It's a resetting, right?
Ah, mm,
We're
Yeah,
all
all
like
right.
Sheila
it
was saying about
is.
her friend. It's he went through what he went through, but it was a spiritual reset for him. And I think for my friends that are going through it right now, I know they want to shift and change in their lives. And this, I think, was the
Mhm.
pinnacle to let them know, okay, it's time to really take control of your lives
Mm,
and
mm,
reset.
mm.
Uh, Not even reset,
Right.
reboot. You know,
The
but
unplug,
yes, it's
turn
all
it off, turn the
Yeah.
computer off, and plug it back, plug
and
it.
dump all the files and start new files, you know?
Get a new modem.
Yes, everything. So yes, it is
Exactly.
everything that happens in our lives. We know this. All of us know this, that it is a kind of a mirror
Yeah.
for us to do the work. And I
Mhm.
think for any of us, whether we dealt with this or not through SVP, is that we have to take control of our own lives, period.
Mm, mm,
Mhm.
Period.
mm, mm. I sense, Sheila, that you are in full agreement around that.
I am, and I'm also, I mean, in part of the what seems like an emotional disconnect is because I'm seeing it from the global picture. So
Yeah. Yes.
in 2008, I did a channeled message, and it was called the financial reset, is what they told me to call it, and the message just talked about the old paradigm collapsing,
Hmm.
and that there would be this period of time where there was an opportunity for businesses, banks, or industries in the corporate world to transition into the new paradigm. And if they didn't, then there would be a collapse of those that hadn't made it over.
Mm,
And I didn't know it would be 15 years, but it feels like, oh, okay, this is what they told me about. And
Wow.
I think in this case, it's not necessarily that particular bank, but the banking industry.
mhm.
It has to upgrade or get dissolved, and that's scary because we're tied into it because we don't know enough about it. It feels like it controls us, and it does,
Right.
but in order for it to dissolve, that's scary because we're attached to it.
You know, and we're going to talk about this in a minute around, like, the whys, and kind of tell people, answer the question, is this going to be the norm in the next segment? But there's no coincidence that under the last presidential administration, where they passed,
Mhm.
with Congress, that they passed laws that weakened certain things,
Mhm.
that during that administration and now after, there were several banks that also collapsed. I think people don't really realize it because they were smaller banks and they really didn't affect them
Mhm.
as much, but that was also going on. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk, keep it right here. Important topic today on This Morning with Soulivity. Hey there, this is Brian with Soulivity.com. I want to share some exciting news about our new Aspire Academy by Soulivity. Now, you probably want to know what the Aspire Academy by Soulivity is. Well, it exclusively connects you with people around the globe and who share the intense desire to improve themselves and create a better life for themselves today. There's classes, there's workshops, there's live events, and even more exclusively just for you. You see, I wanted you to have a safe space where you could grow, you can learn, and it would empower you in all aspects of your life, including your mind, your body, and your soul. So how do you get started? Well, it is so easy. First of all, the best part, joining Aspire Academy is absolutely free. Just click on the Join Now button, sign up, and begin your journey. As a special part of this invitation to you, there are some free courses that are available for you to try from our amazing roster of coaches and collaborators. It's our way of saying thank you for all of your support and being with us along our journey of expansion. I hope you enjoyed the Aspire Academy by Soulivity today. Start the process. Learn more about your passion, your purpose, and how to live a higher quality life. And we're back with more of This Morning with Soulivity. This is Brian Johnson, joined by Sheila Applegate and D'Angelo Thompson. And we're talking about the latest bank collapses of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank that has been kind of troubling a lot of Americans around, their money and is it safe and that kind of thing. Wanted to tackle just really quickly what the experts have been saying around why this occurred. And again, this is information from theconversation.com, a fantastic organization. Please go check them out. And this reads, how could this happen when the banking industry has been sitting on record levels of excess reserves or the amount of cash held beyond what regulators require? Well, the most common type of risk faced by a commercial bank is a jump in loan defaults, known as credit risk. That's not what's happening here. As an economist who has expertise in banking, this is Ventura Tecumcum. I believe it boils down to two other big risks every lender faces: interest rate risk and liquidity risk. And just really quickly, interest rate risk is a bank faces that when the rates increase rapidly within a shorter period of time. So everybody knows that inflation has been, has gone up significantly since the lowering, I should say, of the COVID pandemic and things were getting back. So the Fed has been raising rates over the last 12 months to combat that. The other thing is liquidity risk, and that is a risk that a bank won't be able to meet its obligations when they come due without incurring losses. An example of that is if you spend $150,000 of your savings to buy a house, and down the road you need some or all of that money to deal with an emergency, you are experiencing a consequence of liquidity risk. Now, customers of the Silicon Valley Bank were withdrawing their deposit beyond what it could pay using cash reserves. And so to help meet the obligations, the bank decided to sell $21 billion of its securities portfolio at a loss of $1.8 billion. The drain on that equity capital that led the lender to try to raise over $2 billion in new capital. And that caused a cascade effect where their customers started to withdraw money and so on and so on, and caused the bank collapse. So
Right.
that's what happened. That's what was going on. Do we believe this is going to be the norm? Do we believe that this is kind of a sign of what's to come for customers?
I think that customers will start paying attention more.
Right.
When you hear the words deregulation
Right.
within the political construct, you will pay more attention. And yes, as we said before in the earlier segment, is that it is a reset. So I do think there will be a lot of resets, not only in the financial sector, but in other sectors of our lives.
Right. What about you, Sheila? Do you think, and again, we can take this to another level. Spiritually, do we think
Well,
that this
yeah.
is a sign?
Is it a
Is it?
Is it a sign? It's a reflection of the shift and the changings that
Nice.
are happening in every area.
Nice.
And it's not really that much different than the pandemic. There's a shift in consciousness and energy in our world that is moving us in the direction we want to go. But just like a caterpillar that goes into the cocoon to become the butterfly, it loses itself. Like that's probably painful for the caterpillar. We don't think about that as all of its
Right.
body parts slip away, right? And it doesn't know where it's going.
Right.
So I think there's going to be some level of that here. And right now it feels like in the government and in our corporate regulations and all of that, they're putting out fires because it's so embedded in the Wall Street's power in our government. And it's just such an entangled relationship that for a relationship that like that to untangle itself, unfortunately, is going to be messy. And the serfs
Right.
are the ones that will feel it,
Good word.
One aspect of this that I thought was funny in the political realm was, we've got a presidential election season that's already starting, right? There's been talk around, oh, well, this happened because of these woke banks, right? I mean, again, something that we kind of talked about about a week or so ago. And I thought it was funny because the same people that were saying this were on the board of like Signature Bank. Like, I think
Right.
Jared and Ivanka were both on the board, or one of them were on the board at Signature Bank. They a lot of the Trump administration did a lot of banking with Signature Bank. And so the idea that wokeness and this are together, I think it's actually the exact opposite, right? What do you think, Dee?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I don't want to get too political with this, and this is what I'm really trying to be very careful with, because it's affecting people on both sides.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I just think for all of us, it's about paying attention and really and being proactive. And as Sheila said, it's a reset on every level, not just the financial sector, but the pandemic was part of it.
Right.
And many things around the world are saying, or not even saying, screaming to the world, wake up, wake up.
Right.
I as I think about this, I think that make sure that everyone that you're paying attention to what we're talking about right now. That all the other stuff that happens is noise. That's just noise, and that people are trying to keep a status quo going around our banking system, because people are actually profiting off of a lot of this. So we're going to talk a lot about in the next segment about this. A lot of our most of our deposits are insured up to $250,000 by the SDIC. SDIC. Got some surprising information to share with you about that with some of the banks in America. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
Hi there, Sheila Applegate here with some exciting news. I've joined the incredible Soulivity team as the host of the new Consciously Awesome live show, where I will be sharing insights to help you discover your full brilliance and claim the vibrant life you deserve. So tune in every Wednesday right here on Soulivity TV to join the fun, and remember to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss a single episode. Have an awesome week, and I will see you on Wednesday.
Have you ever asked the question, if I was to be anything, what would I be? Regardless of money, regardless of status, beyond popularity and fame. Living your passion, feeling your life has purpose. Soulivity is a space to nurture that which lives in all of us. A place where work can become play, and doing what we love creates the dreams of a lifetime.
And we want to welcome you back to more of This Morning with Soulivity. We are talking about the latest bank collapses of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, and what does this mean to all of us? Really want to bring up another little piece of this where we're talking about how our deposits are insured, and that at Silicon Valley Bank, they had deposits that were well above the $250,000 that's insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Company. What's interesting about this is, and this is quite fascinating, 88% of the deposits at that bank were uninsured. Did you guys know that?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Signature Bank also had a similar problem. Almost 90% of its deposits were uninsured.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a little graphic, and this is not. And so what I'm saying to everybody is, while this happened to them, this was true for these banks, it's not. It's also true for a lot of other banks. So Signature Bank had 90% of their deposits not insured. I'm showing a graphic right now online.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I already talked about Silicon Valley Bank had 88%. Citigroup has 85% of their deposits that aren't insured by the FDIC. First Republic is at 68. JP Morgan is at 59. BNY Mellon is at 56. PNC is at 46. So, I mean, this is something that is kind of pervasive. And so just want to let people know that in terms of, the things that the government did to make sure that people's deposits were insured and they were going to be able to have all their money was a very good thing for them. And by the way, the investors of the banks are not getting any money. The government has already said that they're not going to support that. So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I did read that on the Associated Press. I didn't see that graphic though, which is amazing. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
And one financial person said that people should start spreading their money around more.
Yeah.
In different financial institutions, as
Yeah.
well as having liquidity.
Yeah.
Which could mean a safe deposit box.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just very interesting. I'm becoming more financially literate. I think we all are, just by having this conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't talk about money. Money's energy, right, Sheila?
Right.
It's a reflection of all of us in many ways.
Absolutely. Sheila, what are you thinking? I mean, you're going to keep us grounded on
Yeah.
on the real, right? Seriously, though. I mean,
Well, in the real, you still have to be practical because you're living in the human life, right?
right.
So, I think what D'Angelo said is right there. Diversify and not. It's that financial freedom comes when you are free
Right.
from the ties. And, that can be done in some practical actions of where you put your money, but it also comes from that mental space of understanding. And then in that space, you make choices that support you during these times too.
Absolutely. Listen, I know D, you gotta run. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Yes. Thank you, guys. And yeah, I'm writing to my
Right.
students, so maybe I'll continue this conversation with them.
Okay, perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just to put this in the context for everybody, according to insider.com, as everybody knows, the FDIC insures U.S. bank deposits up to $250,000 per account to prevent bank runs and failures. And that the demise of Silicon Valley Bank and now the collapse of Signature Bank have stretched this system to a breaking point. On Sunday, the U.S. Treasury, Federal Reserve, and the FDIC said in a joint statement that all depositors of Silicon Valley Bank will be made whole on Monday, which was earlier this week. The authorities are completely ignoring the $250,000 insurance limit, and that Silicon Valley Bank had $173 billion in total deposits, and roughly 88% of that was not covered. That's more than $150 billion in extra deposits that the FDIC has suddenly decided to insure. Just to be clear, this is only on personal accounts and small business accounts. This is not for accounts of investors. So investors, if they invested in the bank, they lost that money because that's part of the risk, right? You're investing in something that you hope will get more in value, and then you get money from that. So,
Right. But last time they didn't have. So the
correct.
CEOs
Yep.
and the investors came out fine last time. So that is a big shift
Absolutely.
in really trying to focus on protecting the people who were being hurt by it rather than those that created it. Right?
Yeah, and I think going back to what you were saying before, Sheila, around all of this, that tells me that this is more about a reset or a reboot, as you guys were saying, right? I mean, the people who banked with them are basically are going to be made whole, or are actually whole now. I guess they're getting money to them, and that part of it, of course, is fine. It's the riskiness around the banking system that has come about because of certain people want that risk to make money that is being challenged. And that all of us play a role in making sure that we're at a higher level vibration when it comes to our relationship with money.
Right. Right.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, this is like PhD level stuff here, right? I mean,
yeah, both on the spiritual level and on the technical level of how bankings work. And one of the articles that I read, I think you did as well, it talked about how the power comes from this facade that the banking and Wall Street industry makes, that first of all, they make it so complicated that people don't understand it. And so then they lose their power by not understanding it. Then they take that power, they move it into the government, and then they help make it so that the government supports them in this. And people aren't understanding. And because they don't understand, they trust them because they're telling us they have us, and that we're the ones they're looking out for. And so it's this kind of convoluted thing where autonomy in ourselves, our own ability to know and to think and to process, is so essential.
Absolutely. And I just can't, I try to bring up, if we're talking about anything political, we're talking about it factually, and not like, oh, we're taking, a side in one political party or not. The fact that there was this string of bank failures after regulation was eliminated or reduced is very, 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 very telling. So, listen, everybody, we're going to take another quick break and give you, some tips on, what should you do now that all this is there, and what information do you need to know to make some really sound decisions about where you want to put your money and how you want to utilize it within the financial system. So we're going to take another very quick break, and we'll be back with more of This Morning with Soulivity.
years ago when I started Soulivity, my vision was to support everyone in improving their life through the discovery of their passion and purpose, so they could become the best version of themselves, to battle fear and ignorance, and create a better world today. Get inspired to live your passion and purpose. Visit soulivity.com now.
And we're back. I told you that was a quick break. We're talking about the Silicon Valley bank collapse, also the Signature Bank collapse, and what does this mean for all of us? And I just wanted to try to give some quick tips that are from CNBC around, what does this mean for your money, right? And so, they have some information here that I think was very, very important. And that, first of all, they say stop replaying the events of the 2008 recession crisis in your head. That's not what this means. We're not set for a rerun of the great financial crisis. This is not the end of the world. But they do say, like, for instance, your bank accounts are likely safe. In terms of the FDIC is insuring your money up to $250,000. And this latest bank collapse at Silicon Valley, they're actually ignoring that and making all of the people who did business with the bank, not the investors, the small businesses and the consumers that did banking there, where maybe it exceeded the $250,000 limit. They say also make sure that your portfolio is diversified. I think this is something that D'Angelo was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
which I think is very important, right? Remember, it's the FDIC insures you up to $250,000 per person, per bank, and per account type, right? Which means that you can spread your money around between accounts without exceeding the limit. So if you are a person that, especially if you're more well off, or you have a small business where you're seeing that some of those accounts are starting to exceed that $250,000 mark, open a new account. Open another account and put the excess in that new account, or even better yet, open an account at another bank that may have less risk in terms of having, uninsured, excess, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
could be, or in other vehicles. I mean, what are you thinking, Sheila? I mean, you think that's a good idea?
Yes, I think it's being smart. I'm thinking if you're in, what they call small businesses. I'm looking at myself as like a solopreneur pretty much in a small business, and I'm nowhere near looking at those numbers. But people who have paychecks, obviously, I would think that they, it'd be very complicated to have your paychecks come from multiple accounts and stuff. I could see where that, if your paychecks every week or month are going to exceed that, I see where that gets complicated. But if you have that ability, absolutely spread it out. And live for the moment too.
Yeah.
I feel like that is important too, because sometimes it's just about people just saving money and in that case, and not investing it, like just this is my spending money, so it's beyond what I see as spending money, but it happens, like that's not a lot of money for some people.
Yeah, there's this again, there's a balance, right? I mean, when we're in tune spiritually, and we're living our life as in our human experience, using our spiritual guide as for our compass, things like, okay, yes, I have a lot, maybe have you ever like people, have you ever asked a question, do you have too much liquidity? right? Are you allowing that money to
Mhm.
flow? Because there's a very strong principle about allowing your money to flow in and out of your life, right? And that if there's a stopgap based
Right.
upon your level of wealth, right, where it's now getting to the point at which
Mhm.
your money is being hoarded, you're not flowing, right? You're
Right.
not, you know, are
Right.
you taking vacations, for instance? Or are you, you know, treating yourself nicely with things that matter to you, right? Or are you saying, "Oh, well,
Mhm.
I gotta save this and I'm not gonna buy that because I'm not doing, you know, I don't want to lose it," right?
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about the law of abundance and, having a good relationship with money and finances, it is about remembering it's an energy and it's meant to move and it's meant
Right,
to go.
right.
And what flows out flows in, you keep it in motion. For me, and I'm talking much smaller than a lot of these
Oh,
businesses or
yeah.
people
I
that
think
have
I
been
think
hurt. Um,
99.9% of people are smaller than that.
Right. But for me, and having been running my own business throughout raising children, and I had the mentality of I just always invested in my children. And that meant like,
Wow.
what
Wow.
what their extracurricular, like and I'm like, and then I
Yeah.
invested in my business. And I mean, those are pretty much have been where the flow is. And that is something I love and I feel passionate about, and in that edge of being on that edge and always moving it towards what I believed in, is where I got all the experience of realizing that I am always taken care of, that the financial energy doesn't have to have power over me.
Right. And there's something, I'm gonna do a shout out to Helena Goldstein on for this one. Um, when she was on earlier, she talked about bringing joy into your finances.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
absolutely
Yes.
love that. When you see your bank balance, when you see if you have a 401k or a retirement account, if when you see your taxes, right? Bring joy into it.
Mhm.
You know, for me, I
Right.
think it's
Yes.
been I think it's been transformational for me, just from her saying that, because I think we're taught to not see that stuff, like, you know, if you see a negative balance or you see or what you see as a low, oh well, you know, it's connected to your self-worth. And it's
Mhm.
like,
Right.
ah, you know, I just
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just not cool. That's just not
It's
cool.
not cool.
It's not cool at all. Listen, wow, listen, we're gonna take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll do have some final thoughts about all of this on This Morning with Soulivity. We'll be right back.
You can find all the Satana products at our Go shop on Soulivity at go.soulivity.com now. Shop for beauty products, skincare, hair care, it is all there at the Go shop. Go shop Soulivity.
And we're back with This Morning with Soulivity. This is Brian Johnson. I'm joined by my co-host Sheila Applegate. D'Angelo had to leave, but we have him here with Spirit. So Sheila, I'm going to go to you with some final thoughts about what all this means.
I love what you ended with before the break, in that, it's an opportunity to bring joy in. And everything that we're faced with, we have the opportunity to choose between fear
Mhm.
or love and joy. I think they kind of entwine when you realize joy isn't vibration. And so if people are experiencing the fear that is happening right now, it's an opportunity to grow, especially with bringing that joy into finances. And it made me think of when we were having that conversation with Helena, and Candace said that when she was working with a regular paycheck, she had a great relationship with money. And then when she went off on her own and had that risk of being an entrepreneur, she had to take it to a new level. So this is an opportunity to take it to a new level for people that are experiencing it right now, and for us watching.
Mhm, mhm. As I was thinking about this, there are certain things where when, as a spiritual being living a human experience, that's almost like the water's edge, this mythical water's edge of our spirituality. One of those things is money, right? So when it comes to
Yeah.
money, it's like, oh no, 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 that has nothing to do with my spirituality, right? And our
Right.
relationships, right? Like our love
Hmm.
relationships. And we go into this cycle of, oh no, well, I can't operate off my faith or my belief system, my spiritual belief system, because I've got to control this.
Right.
And what happens is things like this happen, right? Maybe
Hmm.
indirectly, where it leads us back to that that truth, right? That everything is spiritual. It's all part of our journey. Again, here at Soulivity, we talk about, living your passion, using your passion to serve, which is your purpose, and then having a high quality life based on the basic principles of be, do, have. Not do, have,
Hmm.
be
Right.
first. And so being in the beingness is the spiritual part of this. And so I highly encourage, almost implore all of us, and I'm talking to myself as I say all this because I practice this as well, that take time to reset when you're starting to go down the path of thinking brain wise, thinking about
Right.
what you need to do to handle your finances. Reset
Hmm.
into being. How do you want to feel? And
Right.
bring that feeling in first. That will guide you to the correct decisions that you need to make around what you need to do with your money, with your finances, and all that. Because what we perceive, we achieve. Whatever we bring into our feeling state is what we experience in our life. So just remember that, and that is so true. And if and quote unquote, if you don't believe me, spend 30 days doing that, and then come back and tell me what your
Nice.
experience has been. Just take 30 days and do that, right? Um,
Hmm.
Great show. Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
wow. We talked about this financial collapse today, and I'm like, I'm like, come on, bring it. You know?
Empowering
Empowering, right?
conversations.
Empowering conversations. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. While I want to do a quick shout out to D'Angelo because he has a great, great offer that he's offering all of our Soulivity community. He has some new 100 days of gratitude cards that are absolutely free that you can actually download. And you can download those by going to his personal page on Soulivity at soulivity.com/D'Angelo Thompson. You can go there. They're there now. You can download those. They're in a PDF form and just use those every single day. I mean, I think this practice
Yeah.
of having a practice of gratitude is so important. And with this beautiful gift from D'Angelo, I think it's a wonderful way to even start your day and end your day. So,
Yeah.
uh,
It's like a great deck of cards. So everyone do that.
Sheila, what's going on in your world?
Well, we talked about joy in finances, and my episode today of Consciously Awesome Living is on joy.
Woo
So
woo.
everybody tune into that a little later.
Yay.
And as always, I have the Soul Connection sessions available, and you get a discount through Soulivity. So you can head on over to SheilaApplegate.com and you can learn more about the Soul Connection session and use Soul 23 to get $44 off your first session.
Woo.
And in that session, we just help you connect to your soul, see things from a higher perspective, and I guide you with information from the divine on the topics that are most important to you.
Fantastic. I love it. 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 You can also, Sheila, you got all these great videos and other
Yeah.
articles. Check out Sheila's personal page on soulivity.com at soulivity.com/Sheila-Applegate. And you can read up on all the great inspirational content that she's providing. Wow. Trying to get to all this stuff really quickly. Again, we've got another episode of The Steps to Happiness coming tomorrow, Thursday at 12 noon Eastern. Also, remember to follow us on social media. I mean, this is a great way of connecting with us. You can join our mailing list while you're there because we're going to be starting up our giveaways again. You can win Amazon gift cards, discounts on products, and a whole lot more. So just go to soulivity.com/this morning to learn more, or just follow us on Facebook because we're going to be posting a lot of good stuff there. Well, Sheila, parting is such sweet sorrow.
But I'll see you tomorrow.
Exactly. Bam. Yeah, and I guess tomorrow we have a very special guest.
Yeah, Melina Carnicelli.
Yes, she's the founder and CEO of the First Amendment First Vote group. It's going to be a powerful, powerful, powerful session. We hope that you're there. But until then, listen, on behalf of all of us here at Soulivity, I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of This Morning with Soulivity. We hope that you come back and join us every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our live broadcast, or you can listen Thursday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific on KMET 1490 AM for all of you out on the West Coast. Oh, West Coast living. Until next time, keep on having real conversations that empower with passion and purpose and create a life full of high quality living today. We will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
This work is subject to copyright owned by Affinity Global LLC. Any reproduction or republication of all or part of this is expressly prohibited unless Affinity Global LLC has explicitly granted its prior written consent. All other rights reserved.